What up guys, it's Helian here. Today I'm going to show you how I made this crazy ass Wheezy brass style melody, which could really work for artists like NAV, Gunna and so on. As you can see, it's kind of complex, so let's get into it. So I started with the brass itself. I'm using the Session Horns bank from Contact, and this is the pattern that I came up with. For the effects, I pretty much only have on effect track with this preset, just for a little saturation and an EQ to cut out the lows and the highs. So that was the main idea, and after that I decided to layer the trumpets with two different textures from a Contact bank called Arcis, which is definitely my favorite bank for textures. The pattern looks pretty much the same, but it's just the chords. This is what it sounds like. So it adds a lot of ambience in the background. To add even more ambience, I added a choir from Omnisphere. I know a lot of people use Contact for their choirs, but I actually really like the ones in Omni as well. And I pretty much just copy-pasted the same pattern from before. Next up, I went for a piano from Keyscape, and I actually deleted the VST to save up CPU space, but really it was again just the same pattern as before, with the only exception that I copied this chord right here and put it in a higher octave just to make it like a little more interesting. For the effects, I got nothing special, just again an EQ to cut out the lows and a little reverb. So there was a bunch of layers for the main melody. Next I opened up a bank called Tina Duo in Contact, which has a bunch of cool string phrases and accents, and I added a couple of those to complement the main melody. Afterwards, I still felt like the main melody was missing something, so I added one more layer, and it was strings from the Albion 1 Contact bank, which is probably my go-to orchestral bank, and I also added an automation clip to play with the velocity. Next I added this one-shot sign lead, which actually sounds more like an accent. And also a deduct phrase from Contact bank Ethno World 6, which you all know. So we already have a whole bunch of layers, but we're still not over. Next I added these vocal one-shots from No Fucks vocal one-shot kit. And also this accent from Producer Grind Cadence One Shot Kit. So at this point I was pretty much done, but I decided to go for one more counter melody for the second part of the loop, and unfortunately I also managed to delete the original VST and the pattern, but as you'll be able to hear, it's nothing crazy. I'm using the Ivory Wind recorder from Embertone. Embertone has some great winds, by the way, and I actually rendered this melody out, pitched it up one octave, and I put in EQ to cut out a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs so it doesn't interfere with the rest of the melody. Finally, I added a sub bass because I always like basses in my loops. And the last thing, actually the two last things for this melody were this vinyl texture to give the loop more of a vintage vibe. You get the idea. And I also threw in a whole lot of orchestral drum one-shots from Kashmir's drum kit, and with them I created this sort of orchestral drum loop. And yeah, that was it. I'm using my regular master preset for loops with the little EQ and gentle modulation preset on sketch cassette. And so after spending over 2 hours on this loop and crying in the corner 3 or 4 times when my shit crashed, this is what we have.